So we've successfully georeferenced the image, and I have the modified raster layer here. As you can see, it lines up correctly with the boundary layer, and so we're going to proceed to creating the vector features that would hold the different thematic layers in the map. So I'm going to go to my browser panel, and under the geo package, I'm going to create some tables to hold the various features. We already have a point and a boundary layer, so I'm going to start by creating a table for the geology. I'll call the table name geology, and I want the table geology to be a polygon because the geology are represented using polygons. Now, for geology, we are going to add we're going to add fields for the various attributes. First of all, the geology is going to have a geology formation name. All right, and name is usually in text form, and we're going to give it a length of 50 or a length of 100 characters. The precision essentially means if you're dealing with an integer type or mostly a decimal type. Okay, if you're dealing with a decimal type, the number of figures after the decimal point is what we mean by the precision. So our geology will also give it a lithology to tell us what lithology of rock it is, and so that will also be text with a string character length of 50. And most of the time, labeling geology polygons is usually done using a code value to monitor the to represent each formation name so that it's easily labeled. And so the code value mostly a text or integer code value, but in this case we make use of a text that is 10 characters long. And so I'm satisfied with the geology table design. Now everything we add in here is are called fields. These are what show up in our attribute table as columns. And so at this level I can click OK. And so having added this, I can bring it into the project, and then we have an empty geology layer here. And so when I open the attribute table, I can see the different fields we just created. And so I'll also do that for the other thematic layers, for the water bodies, the rivers, and the roads. So rivers are usually categorized as either major rivers, minor rivers, streams, or any other type. So a type field for rivers is usually useful when you're creating or designing your rivers database. And so rivers are mostly represented as lines. And so I'll bring in the water body and the rivers layer into the map. Now finally I'm going to add tables for the road and the places. Roads are line and they are different categories of roads. So I can either use type or category. So the places will hold names of locations or places of interest in the study area. Okay, so this point here refers to our outcrop point. I can also rename this by going to manage so that we know that this refers to our outcrop point. And so QGIS prompts me to rename it, and it has been renamed in. So apparently we have not saved the last bringing change renaming the outcrop point caused our layer settings to change. So I'm just going to work with the last saved version so that I can use the styling settings that we made. But I'm going to show you a way to preserve your style settings by using what's called um, a um, layer style file. Okay, so right now we still have our symbology preserved in this map format. So I'm going to save this. Okay, export this as a layer definition file, which will export the layer um, information and all style information that has been stored with it. So okay, QGIS saves that into something known as a QLR file, which stands for QGIS layer file. So I'll create a folder here called QLR, and store our points outcrop layer file there so that we do not lose our style settings. And what I can do is to repair the data source for this so that it points back to our outcrop points. Okay, so we've preserved our layer settings, and so when I go to my QLR file, I can see a file called outcrops.qlr, which is storing essentially all layer settings for my rivers. What I can also do for the other layers is to reuse any available layer setting from any other project so that it can be easily reusable, okay, into our project. Now when making maps like this, one of the best things you should do is to ensure that your points are placed above everything else, okay, except possibly your boundary polygons, and then the lines should come afterwards after the point. So I can drag this, and as I'm dragging you can see a black line indicating its position. So I want it just after the point, so I'll drop it there. This also represents outcrop points, so this will be after places, and then tables should be at the bottom, And then after polygons, you can have any raster layers like elevation underneath. Okay, so this is usually the default arrangement for making maps. So at this level, I can toggle on my reference master raster map and begin editing the polygons for my layer. I'm going to toggle off some points that are not necessary right now and start the editing process. I want to start with the geology, and what you're going to realize is that there are some polygons that are included within other polygons, and so we call these donut polygons, and it's important to understand how you can work with them. So I'll select my geology polygon and toggle the editing on. I like to edit geology polygons using a outline style so that I can see what is on the inside of the polygons. So I would like to use a thicker high contrast polygon so it's easy to work with. I'm going to toggle on snapping so that I have a and I'm going to snap to both the vertex and the segment. Okay, so that I can snap to the edges over here. Okay, so I'll put my first okay, I'm still digitizing with the shape. So to edit, there are a number of ways we can edit. Right now I'm editing with a segment. Okay, there's also something known as stream digitizing. Okay, which essentially means that I can digitize without having to add each segment. So for now, I need to add a segment just like this to digitize my polygons. Okay, when I'm stream digitizing, I can digitize. As you can see, when I press the R key, I activate stream digitizing. So right now, once I click, I don't need to. I can just add vertices wherever I want. Okay, by just moving my mouse wherever I want. And so we call that stream digitizing. When I'm digitizing with stream digitizing, I want to pause it. I press the R key and it is paused. And when I press R key again, I can continue the stream digitizing. Now, wherever I cross my polygons, I can see a green icon telling me I have crossed my polygons. Okay, and so if I cross that green icon, okay, then I'm going to create a cross at that point. It means there's a mismatch over there. Okay, so let's see how we can work with digitizing this. When digitizing a donut polygon, first thing you want to digitize is the polygon on the inside. Okay, so to do that, we'll create a polygon. For that, I'm going to do that using the segment digitizing tool, just to show you how that works. And so it's important when digitizing a scan map, if you make an error, just hit the backspace key and it will go back to the vertices. It's important while digitizing to make sure you are zoomed in clearly to get the best resolutions for your features, and to make sure it's as accurate as possible because you're converting raster information into vector features. So if I'm satisfied with this, I'll right click and I can click OK. I can add formation names here, lithology here. So I'm just going to put shale here as a sample lithology. Yes, so I'm just going to put shale here. Now, To make the other polygon, I'm going to toggle on the advanced digitizing toolbar. Okay, that will allow me to do more complex editing. Okay, so the advanced digitizing toolbar comes with a tool for tracing. Okay, to trace features, and so what I can do is to so there is a tool called tracing on the snapping toolbar, which allows us to snap any new features we're adding to the edges of already existing features, and that is useful when we are creating donut polygons like this. All right, so but if I wanted to create a donut polygon, I would have to create that using a ring on the advanced digitizing toolbar. So let us explore how we can do that. I would select add ring, all right, and digitize a polygon for the internal polygon. Okay, it is having the ring is not contained in a feature. All right, so that means that I'll have to work with an already existing polygon. So within this polygon I created, if I create a sample polygon, all right, just like this. Let me turn off snapping for now. Right. So I'm going to remove any other segment snapping now and just explore how the add ring function works. I'm creating this simple polygon, and then after creating it, I will click OK and then click the add ring tool and digitize the polygon I want to digitize within that polygon and click OK. And so that now creates that donut polygon within the larger polygon. And so that's how we can create the ring function. And so if I want to delete this, I can just select and delete these sample polygons, and let us use that to digitize the other polygons that are in the map. So I'll select this and delete it, and let us add a ring using the add ring function on the advanced digitizing toolbar. I'll select the polygon, turn on snapping for segment and vertex, and create my polygon. Okay, so I'm having some challenges, but let me see how I can walk around them. Now, one more thing you can do is to also, when you're having lines connected to polygons, it's important to make sure that your snapping is turned on so that they are joined together at their edges. Now let us explore how we can edit other features like our water body polygon. I'm going to give this a few colored of. Give the blue fill color and a stroke that is thicker than that, and then I'll begin the editing process from there. So let us explore the stream digitizing from here. I'm just going to click and move. Okay, so our edit tool is currently active. Let us digitize the geology using the ring polygon methodology. So I'm going to turn on streaming so that I can quickly add polygons to my map. I'll change my edit mode to stream digitizing and also turn on edge snapping. Okay. For now, I think the software is not really responding as it should be. Okay, so my snapping is working now. I can snap this edge, okay, because I want my geology to lap to the edge of the boundary study area. And also snap to this edge as well. Alright, so I can close this. I'll give this a mythology of sand, stone. Alright, and I give this a code of SST. Alright, now I'm going to add a ring to this. Alright, using the advanced digitizing add ring tool. I'll make sure that I'm adding a ring within within an existing polygon. Alright, so to do that, I would use the stream digitizing tool to do that. And I'll right click to create the polygon. And so I have essentially created a ring in this polygon. And to be able to visualize that ring, I'll change the style, the fill style, back to a fill outline. Alright, let me. Alright, so with the simple fill outline, you can see that we have a fill with a ring within it. And to also observe our edits, if I go to the attribute table, I see I only have one feature, alright, with the ring inside of it. And so I can save that to save my edits, alright, and now I have my ring created. So that's how we can do that creation of the ring. To edit a simple water river line feature, we'll select the river line. Okay, so let's edit the water body for now. And to do that, we can also use the stream digitizing function. So if you run into any errors, you can use the backspace, and if you want to pause the stream, you can press the R key. So to pan around the map, you use the arrow keys on your keyboard to get more space. And so if you're not in stream mode, you can still continue digitizing using your normal segment digitizing mode. And so I can put back my map in stream mode. And I can adjust my panels to get more digitizing space. So it's important while streaming to be careful about errors that you are using, so that you have a perfect stream geometry. And always use the R key to make sure that you are getting the best geometry possible. So before I stream, I have to make sure that my cursor is exactly on the boundary line, so that once I press R and start moving my mouse, it begins to add the lines. Because if your cursor is away from your boundary lines of the feature you are working on, by the time you press R and begin to move your mouse, it begins to add the geometries outside the extent of the boundary, and that will create an outline that is not accurate. Alright, so at this point I think I've gotten the outline for the water body, so I can right click to okay. Apparently we are still editing the add ring function. That is why our layer could not be created. Alright, so I'm going to do this and complete the other features in the map, and when we return I will continue the process for the base map creation, okay, so that we can have a complete base map and move into the next section of the training.